Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Pyramid Science Foundation Livestream. And here we explore the amazing ways energy can transform our lives, whether it's through the power of pyramids, ancient wisdom, or cutting edge research. From health and spiritual growth to agriculture and free energy, we dive into all the ways energy shapes our world. I'm Lisa Richards, Vice Chair of the Pyramid Science Foundation and owner of Alter Ether. And with me, as always, is Charmin Charlie Ziese, Chair of the Pyramid Science Foundation, owner of Stargate Pyramids, and a leading expert in pyramid energy and sacred geometry.
Good to be here, Lisa, and I thank all of you who are listening today. I know we've got a great guest in store for you, so hang on. We got a few announcements, I guess. You want me to go first?
Go ahead. Yep.
All right. Lisa just told me that I was on with Sasha Stone last month on his Lazarus initiative, and apparently the session that I was on, that is a subscription service, but they've made that a bonus segment. So we're going to try to figure out. I'm going to try in the next day or so how to download that and put it up so you all can watch that. Also on the 26th of this month, I'm not sure if that's going to be the day it's released, but I'll tell you more next week. I'm going to be on with Earth Ancients, Cliff Dunning. We're going to be discussing the new book that I'm working on and other topics there. So that particular one, that podcast is more about ancient, history and ancient civilizations. So we won't be talking as much science there, but it should be a great perspective on, the history of sacred geometry and how long ago people knew about the golden ratio scaling in our culture. So, and then lastly, my book, it's coming along. It's going to be out early next year. It's going to be big. I can already tell because it's going to be an amalgamation of all of my research up until now. So it's going to be covering fluid dynamics. It's going to cover free energy, health. It's going to cover cosmology. It's going to cover architecture, and so it's going to cover everything from soup to nuts. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm working hard at it, and so if you don't see any video, one of the reasons you haven't seen videos from me personally on research is just I've been so busy researching recently. So anyway, that's it for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have a meeting actually on Friday with Lance Shuttler from Ascent Nutrition. He makes some amazing supplements, and I'm going to convince him to start using our pyramids and doing some research for us, whether it be charging his supplements and doing different analysis on before and after, or growing things, or both. So I think that's going to be pretty cool to work with Lance. I know he's going to be willing to do that. So um,
Fantastic.
another another thing that I just was interviewed by Lewis Herms yesterday on Screw Big Gov News Views and Conspiracies for his Tinfoil Hat Tuesday, and I talked about the hidden power of pyramids unlocking 30 years of Russian research, and I mainly put it out there. Could these pyramids hold the key to a more advanced, sustainable, and continuous future, or conscious future, I should say? And we know it does. Now others will too, hopefully. We had a lot of questions pop up during the stream. So that was really cool. And then my last announcement, I'm looking to expand not only into the pyramid world, but into different types of energy healing. Different types of technological energy healing, I should say. And a lot of you that follow our podcast know that I've experienced great healing results from a severe dust allergy, sciatica, hay fever, horrible menstrual cramps, things like that. Even my breast cancer rates have gone lower because of using some of this suppressed technology. It's been in the works for 30 plus years, but it's in other countries. It's not in the US, and that's for a reason, and we can all see why now. But I'm raising funds to actually purchase this equipment and start testing it and using it to our benefit. Um, those who help me make this transformation technology accessible to all will receive a complimentary session. So everybody take a look at my fundraiser. It's actually in the link below, in the description below, if you guys want more information on it, but it's pretty cool. So if anybody can help, that would be a blessing to us all in the end. So, and actually, one thing that I do want to tell people about that project is when I do get proficient with the training of these devices, I'll offer them. Um, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be on a pay as you can afford. If you can't pay, then I'll just work with you as well. But we need to heal people. You know, our world isn't set up to heal over here in the United States. And I think Charlie and I are on the forefront with our pyramid energy just to bring people. We really are. You know, people think we're crazy and they thought we were crazy for years, but now they're opening their eyes and they know, you know, if another government is spending 30 years of research on a simple structure, you know, what are we missing over here? So let's bring on today's guest, guys. We have a wonderful guest with us today. We have my friend. I've been following Tom on Facebook for quite a while now. And Tom Waters, he's a traditional alchemist, healer, and agriculture consultant for an exciting topic. Tom will unveil the secrets of ORMUS, the Elixir of Life, known for enhancing vitality, mental clarity, spiritual growth, and even agriculture transformation. With over a decade of experience and a deep knowledge of ancient alchemy and modern science, Tom bridges the gap between tradition and innovation to heal individuals and the planet. So don't miss this fascinating exploration of ORMUS and its potential to usher in a golden age for humanity and Earth. Welcome, Tom.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. That was a wonderful intro.
Yes, of
And
course.
thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Lisa, for having me. It's such an honor to be with you all today. And I told Lisa earlier that it's been a while, so this is kind of my reintroduction back into the podcasting live streaming space, and it's an honor to
Good.
do it with you guys. I really love the work that you're doing, and
Oh, thank
happy
you.
to share some of the knowledge that I've acquired and accumulated over the years. And yeah, I do there. So the education is in the conferences and in the speaking tours and all the things that we do. Um, um, sorry,
You
I lost
said,
my.
no, that's okay. You said you used to go to the Conscious Life Expo a few years ago or something like that, but you've been kind of out of the loop for a while. So this is Tom's new arrival back into the swing of things, getting his
Right.
knowledge back out there. We kind of forced him into it.
Exactly, and I appreciate that little kick, that little nudge. So yeah, the
Conscious Life Expo.
Conscious Life Expo. Thank you.
Yep.
Was one of the experiences that we got to test some of this technology, and we got to see the Carillion photography of these substances creating these enhanced auras and all these different colors in the aura. So yeah, I guess my thing is to kind of bring this fringe science into mainstream with data, and um, create
Yep.
product lines that showcase this technology, because
Mhm.
I feel like this is incredibly important, like you said, to facilitate this golden age. And I do believe that the Rosicrucians of Europe, they precipitated their Renaissance and their golden age with these alchemical materials, because there was like a kind of golden age with alchemy in Europe, in Czechoslovakia, and these different areas, before it was. Um, there was like this split at the Royal Academy of Sciences in England, where Boyle discovered the oxygen molecule. And so then the Hermetic philosophy kind of went to the wayside, with this new discovery and this new field. But the traditional alchemy is essentially a science of the soul, and we can actually prove the theory in the laboratory experiments. And then within the laboratory experiments, we are then affected as our work is affected. It kind of works on us and we work on it. So it's kind of like showing us where we're at in the process of our own spiritual refinement, because that's essentially what alchemy is. It's a spiritual refinement. Well, it's a soul refinement. So there's three principles in traditional alchemy, and you can find them in Chinese tradition as well, and Ayurvedic. In Ayurveda, you have like the Vata Pitta Kapha. In traditional alchemical hermetic philosophy, you have salt, sulfur, mercury. And in the Chinese tradition, you have the qi, the jing, and the shen. So these are like energetic qualities that are then impressed into matter. And so I actually have a chart for how this energy organizes itself to form matter. And I can actually share
Yes, of course.
the screen here.
Let me bring up the screen share.
Okay.
I actually, while we're waiting here, I actually met Tom on a Facebook group. I was passionate about ORMUS and had started making my own. And this was, oh gosh, probably 10 plus years ago, I started making it. And so I have some exciting experiences from plant growth to even dreams, dream remembrance and stuff that I experienced when I made my own. So I want to get back into the swing of that as well.
Absolutely. So can you see the screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the yin and the yang at the top, and this is what the alchemists call the prima materia. This is actually taken from a book that my teacher wrote, but it splits itself off into these different qualities, one of a fixed nature and one of a volatile nature, and then these become these four elements, which again are energetic qualities, and we don't actually see physical matter until it gets into the salt, sulfur, mercury arena. So essentially all matter is energy condensed to a slower vibration, and it kind of fits into these templates of etheric qualities, and then ultimately leading into your doshas, or the salt, sulfur, mercury, or the vata, pitta, kapha, or all of those things that make up these different qualities in matter to create the diversity and the all of the different matter that we have. We have heavier stuff, lighter stuff, oilier stuff, wetter, like all these different qualities are then impressed into matter, and then we actually see it in the lab by extracting these three, the salt, sulfur, and mercury, from just about anything, from the plants, the minerals, the metals. I don't work with animals. That's something that Dr. Rydell taught my teachers. The only ethical thing to work with in that arena is the oil of egg, which I've made in the past using chicken eggs and stuff. But yeah, I basically focus on the minerals, the metals, and the plants. And so there's a variety of methods in the alchemical tradition to extract these and then recombine them into a proper medicine, essentially. So,
Interesting. Hey, Tom, why don't you start off with, I'm sure a lot of people don't know what ORMUS is.
okay.
So why don't you educate them a little bit on what ORMUS is?
Yeah, I appreciate you reining me kind of in, because I can go off on these tangents.
No, I do too, all the
So
time.
do I. So don't worry about it.
So I do need the little nudge there. And yeah, it's so basically ORMUS, according to Barry Carter, who's a dear friend, he basically claimed it to be the chi, or the prana, or the life force energy. It's that which like animates. So it's kind of like, well, it's like the prana or the chi, and so it is an energetic quality that then. So that's Barry Carter's definition of it. Now David Hudson came up with his ORMS, which was, see, I guess it all started when David Hudson, who was a cotton farmer, discovered this material leaching his cotton fields.
Right.
He found this white powder that came out, and it had all these anomalous properties. It imploded in the sunshine. It had all these incredible properties. And so that was a very technical way to extract it from ore that he ultimately ended up patenting in Great Britain and a couple other countries. I don't think he got through in the United States, but eventually he ended up patenting all of these technologies to extract this anomalous white powder that he, through his research, thought was the philosopher's stone, and had this alchemical tradition involved in it. So basically, Barry Carter comes along. He says, "No, ORMUS is in everything. You can extract it with this magnetic device. You can extract it with this wet method with sodium hydroxide. Even methods like John Hudson, which is no relation to David Hudson, but John Hudson also invented a way to make this white powder that it analyzed as like a calcium sulfate, which is like gypsum board. But again, it's like these are energetic qualities that we're kind of capturing into the material. So there's a variety of methods to do, like even a vortex water trap you could use to kind of use the
Yeah.
magnet.
I've seen it. I've seen it done the magnetic way. So it looks like it's like a contraption that you hook up to the end of your hose, and then it has round disc magnets all pushed together.
Right.
And that is like, it's a way of filtering it out too.
Well, that's one way of doing it because these magnets have an effect. It's a Meissner effect, I believe, and so it like repels and then attracts, and then so in these certain sequences, they'll push the ormus into this wick. It's like a polyurethane wick or something that like a tight space, because the ormus likes to get into tight spaces and then I don't know what the right word is for it, but it seems to go into these tight spaces, and that's why it's in salt. It's in these crystalline structures of the salt and different things. So
when I started making it, I made it with the wet method. That's the way that I found it. So it's with a mixture of salt. You can do Dead Sea salt, Celtic salt, Himalayan salt. You can do a mixture of all of them, but you put it in water, you dissolve the water or dissolve the salt in the water, and then you add lye to a certain pH. And when you get to that specific pH, it drops the orm elements out of the water. And it's really cool because you let it sit there overnight, and the next day there's this big white cloud. It looks like it has a freaking mind of its own. It's just moving around in the bottom of the jar.
it totally does. And it does, I think, have consciousness in a lot of ways. Just like anything has, like plants have a consciousness, humans have a consciousness or a sentience, minerals have a consciousness. It's almost like an algorithm, or like for that level, like the plant or the mineral. But for ours is obviously much more advanced. But yeah, it's pretty wild when you see it come into being. Now, some people would caution against the Dead Sea salt because of the high levels of aluminum in them. So as always, I would like Barry never recommended to consume it. I personally don't recommend people to consume it. I just don't want the liability, but people have consumed this for large periods of time, myself included. So I'm okay.
I did too. Not for a long period of time, because then it scared me myself after reading, oh, you shouldn't do it, but
right.
No, I had amazing results when I did.
Exactly. And there's a lot of that in the community. And I think that's why for me and one of my business partners, we thought, well, okay, if there's such a huge concern with the hydroxides, and I get it, the salt on the kidneys and all the different things. So I get it. So we came up with an alternative method that I'm announcing on this show, but it's going to be a little bit, in the next couple months or so, I'll fully release the way to do it. But there's a way to do it without the hydroxides that I believe is a lot more safer and aligned with the traditional techniques. And so it just takes more time and it takes more detailed, more effort. But
very cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That'll be exciting. And you want to write a book about it too, right?
Yes, I'm in the middle of a book, just like Charlie's writing. I really look forward to reading yours as well. So yeah, I'm working on this book that kind of, it explains like the different things, because there's so much information out there, like with GANs, with I don't know if you're familiar with the Keshe Foundation and GANs.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, and he's brilliant in his own way. And so I wanted to be like, okay, well, let's take the GANs, let's take ORMS, a la David Hudson, and let's take Barry Carter's ORMUS, let's take traditional alchemy, and let's just document and present to the people. They can make their own decision. They can read through the data that I gathered. And I just want to give people an education, because I know going into it, nobody really knew what to expect. And then, like I was telling Lisa earlier, it's like a lot of stuff comes up with these materials, and a lot of stuff comes to the surface that wants to be worked on, healed. So if there's a toxic nature involved, then that toxicity is that, I mean, for being a conscious movement, I've seen so much toxicity, and I've done like every single ORMUS conference. I've done all these events and stuff, and everyone ends up being this what my friend Peter May calls a prana fest. And it's just like all the loons come up, and all the thought forms, and all the belief systems, and all of the things come up for the awareness of healing them.
Yeah.
So
And you mentioned earlier when we were talking about it, Tom, that if you're a negative person, it's going to bring up the negative things in you. So,
exactly,
right?
to our awareness, and then that's where the beauty of the healing comes in, because it's like we have to be aware of these things to actually heal them and move through them. So a lot of people that aren't doing the work will have all these things come up and just be on autopilot and not take that opportunity to do the healing. So that's why I wanted to write the book, was to be like, okay, here's all the processes, here's the science and the data behind it, and from there, just the experiences. It's funny, I just keep losing my thought today. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
All right. Well, I have a question that'll take us in a new direction. I mean, or at least comments. I mean, we actually, I don't know if Lisa was, if we were
I
working
wasn't when
for,
you did that interview. No.
yeah, there we had a young man on named Michael Hoynes from Australia, and he suggested that he was able to make ormus with a Russian pyramid, and that's how we met. So I don't know the other thing that I know from having made tensor rings in the past, that Slim Sperling indicated that he could make ormus using tensor rings as well. So just throwing
Yeah,
it out there. I
that's
don't know if the formulation is the same, like you're saying,
no,
Tom.
it's so funny because I actually have that page. I can share that screen, so it's a perfect segue into this.
Oh, well, good. That's what I'm here for.
Well done. So if I could just share my screen, I'll show you this. Where's my screen sharing here? Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's actually from Barry Carter's website. So they enshrined his. I think it's like this is his old website. Obviously, Barry is no longer around. Rest in peace. And his website still is. I think somebody ended up paying for a bunch of years to keep it up, but this is from his website, subtleenergies.com, and it shows the Kirlian photography of this double helix. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just the way that this. So just like it's just concentrated chi when it's arranged with these differentials of the pyramid, right, from the top to the bottom. And it's funny because pyramid actually comes from the root word fire.
That's right.
So
Hmm.
it's like technically it cultivates the secret fire,
Yeah.
which is the ormus, the chi, the prana. And so we get this ormus, chi, prana from food, from the air, from all these different things. However, we can concentrate it, and then when the body has excess of it, now again, we've got to keep in mind about blockages and channels being open, energetic channels, and any kind of stagnation, because it'll blow it open. It just overwhelms the system. So one of the things I recommend is just to get a good foundation of a health regimen that's going to work as well. Because I've noticed with some of the people that take it, they'll detox at a very quick rate. And if their elimination channels aren't open, then they'll break out. They'll get like a cyst or something, or the toxins want to come out the kidneys, but if they can't, then they'll come out the skin. And it's just something I'm aware. But yeah, this is the pyramid picture that Barry used to talk about in some of his
Hmm.
uh, lectures. And they call it the Secret Fire, and it's kind of funny because that's my company's name is the Secret Fire, and I started that like maybe 12 years ago or 14 years
Oh,
ago.
great. Good name.
It's the Secret Fire is like that energy in springtime that brings out all the plant life and the plant growth and everything. And it's essentially this subtle energy that we can collect. We can create vectors for it to multiply.
So when I started, I want to share my experience with it.
Awesome.
But when I started making my own ormus, I mainly started making it for plant growth because
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got into pyramid energy, and everything was growing plants. But then I was reading a lot of the research on people taking it and what happens to their consciousness or what happens to their dreams. And within a week of me taking it, throughout the week, it gave me a tremendous energy, tremendous mental clarity, just a focus that was never really there before. My mind's wandering in 100 places all the time. So it gave me more of a direct focus. But it was amazing to me after a week when I woke up from sleeping. I remembered not just one dream. Like sometimes you'll wake up and you'll remember a portion of a dream, but this, you remembered the whole entire dream
Mm-hmm.
from beginning to end, everything that happened in that dream. And I had always kept a dream journal, so I wrote them down. Throughout the week, it was building up. By the end of the week, I woke up and remembered it was either 8 or 9 dreams that I had that night. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? I
Yeah.
remembered them all from beginning to end, like I was watching a marathon. It was crazy to me.
That is amazing. And isn't it funny, because I think that this Ormus actually feeds the astral body, because when we're in dreamland, we're kind of in the astral realms of navigating these astral realms. So I feel like those memories are kind of scored into this magnetic induced field of the
Yeah.
um,
We lost Charlie. He'll be back on.
yeah.
I don't know what happened, but he'll be
Isn't
back
that
on.
yeah, isn't that amazing? The lucidity and some of the stuff, my experiences are like in the dream state, walking through walls and getting on giant UFOs and like stuff that's just
Yes.
unbelievable, and flying, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's how, there he is.
Welcome back,
Yeah.
Charlie. Well, so I think the dream world is a very important aspect of our world that isn't really delved into much. I mean, we sleep most of our lives away, right? What we need to start looking into that more. And I think Ormus alone is going to be a big part of that. How we can decipher what's really going on in the dream world,
Yeah, and it's cultivating that awareness through these this substance that can then the body, when it has an excess of this Ormus or chi or prana or whatever, it will then divert it to what needs to take place. And when we have this excess of it, our field just expands, and the human being is capable of very incredible supernatural things. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's what these sort of subtle energetic components do, is they feed the subtle body, which then allows us to create the reality that we prefer.
Well, you and I were talking about that earlier. You said when a lot of people are taking Ormus, a lot of times they experience that things are just happening. All good things are just now attracted to them and coming to them like nonstop out of the blue. So it's like opening you up to a whole new world where most of the time we're walking around with conscious roadblocks that are affecting our manifestation, right?
Exactly. And I think it's like the perspective of learning that we are the eternal soul. It's not that we have a soul, we actually are the eternal soul. And coming at it from that perspective, we then take control of our destiny and our life. And you realize it through all these crazy synchronicities too, because over the years, I've just seen things that are just unbelievable that happen and that line up when we just kind of let it go and allow our field to expand. And then it's almost like a cymatic thing. So it like vibrates at a certain thing, and it arranges the matter around us
Mhm.
into these sort of things. So yeah, there's tremendous value in this, and also into the life extension and longevity thing, because it takes a lot of food to break down into these Ormus like subtle energetic dynamics. And what the Ayurvedic tradition called it was the ojas. There's It gets way more complicated than that, and that could be a whole show. But for just our purposes, the ojas is kind of the area that we have to focus on, because there's like the healing phase of getting off all the damage, the health, the situation with the food and all that stuff, and then moving into this excess stage. So like there's a healing stage, and then there's this bonus stage of cultivating or increasing the ojas, which then allow us to tap into this superpower that all humans have. No one's it's like we all have this. We just eat food that doesn't have this life force component to it.
Yeah.
We take medicines that actually drain us of the life force. So it's about cultivating the life force, and so it expands, and it also just it, it just it just allows us to, with the psychic stuff, and I mean the telepathy and all that stuff. I mean, it is profound.
So I was also, through my research, I also found that it's more beneficial to not take the Ormus directly, but to grow your food with it, right?
Yes, that's
And then
brilliant.
eating that food is going to be more beneficial than you actually ingesting it. So some of the research that I came across was for a company called Sea Crop, who makes it to fertilize plants. And in their book, they talk about how when animals are fed these crops that are grown with Ormus, for instance, like pigs are always rooting around. Pigs are known to make a mess in the mud and dig things up. But what they're actually doing is looking for nutrients that's not in their food. And when they're fed these Ormus grown crops, they don't root anymore. They're
Wow.
calm and docile. Another thing is horses when they're cribbing. They call it when the horse chews on the wood of their stall. That's called cribbing. And they do that because, like the pigs, they're looking for the nutrients that they lack. And when they're fed the Ormus grown minerals or foods, they don't do that anymore. And they're more calm and docile. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
No, that is really interesting. It's, I don't know if you guys have heard of Louis Kevron.
Mm-mm.
Hervran or whatever. Yeah.
Kevran, yeah. I
biological transfer.
exactly. I knew Charlie would know this one. Yeah, this
course.
guy is amazing, right? Like,
He is super.
yeah, the body is, so we're all alchemists with amnesia. So it's
right.
kind of funny that people will use that word in these ways. And I'm like, you're right, because you are an alchemist. You're transmuting a variety of things, but inside our bodies, we can have these transmutations going on. Because Louis Kevron proved that, like, he restricted calcium from the chicken's diet, and it still was laying calcium in the eggs. So his theory was that the potassium is being transmuted into calcium. And then if you look at the Strike Foundation.earth people and the Alchemical science guys on YouTube, they're showing these transmutations, and they can actually be, this is profound things happening right now in our society. And so, yeah, we're going to know a lot more about these things. But I believe that this indiscriminate energy, this Ormus energy, the secret fire, whatever you want to call it, can create just about anything. It's like the block.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but I thought, this just came to mind too. As part of my research, I found that they said that Ormus actually will revert GMOs back to the original organic strain or whatever the natural strain. Is that something you came across?
Actually, Barry mentioned that. Yeah, Barry
Yeah.
would speak about that publicly, and I never tested it myself, but I definitely believe Barry's research is pretty thorough. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting because we were getting into kind of like the medical marijuana stuff, and it's like none of them wanted to. That new Ormus would want to do it because it all has like this genetic engineering kind of, like they don't want it to be reverted back to this other thing. So yeah, it actually has this effect on it.
Well, I also I remember coming across an article of a lady that had Ormus in her hand cream, and her cat had got its tail clipped off.
Oh, so this is Dana Dudley.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, Dana Dudley, I believe. Tut, the cat. Yeah.
You know the cat?
Yeah. I've been in the scene for a minute.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about that. That was pretty cool.
It's interesting because I know a little bit about it, but there's some controversy around it that I won't go into. But it was fascinating because in this image you see this cat tail got clipped off, and then you actually see it actually grows back.
Yeah, so that's what the cat was licking the hand cream off of her hands as she would put it on there, and she noticed its tail starting to grow back. And so that actually made sense to me because Ormus is a superconductor of energy. And the only reason that we don't regrow limbs is because we lack the energy to do so, right?
Right. That's a very good hypothesis. I actually pulled up the website for Tut's tail. Barry was
Lovely. Let's look at the cat's cut off tail.
sorry.
That's
But
okay.
yeah, it actually grew back. See this picture of the pink growing back? I
Yeah,
mean, that's
okay.
pretty far out. Like, I mean, now some people will say, "Oh, it's a kitten. At that age, it has a lot of these stem cells and can do this sort of thing." But I don't know. To me, it looks like the Ormus did something.
Oh my. Yeah, I never
Yeah,
saw those pictures.
yeah. Sorry to gross you out.
No, that's fine. I'm a farm girl. I'm good.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, so Tom, let's go into another subject that I really wanted to bring you
Okay.
on here to talk about is your work on bioremediation and
Yeah,
healing the soil.
yeah.
Really? That's what you're trying to do?
Yeah, that's, it started kind of in the backyard with the fruit forest, and it essentially was just a carpet of grass. There wasn't many trees back there, and so it took about 7 years to recondition the soil, but it's through the deposit of the leaf. I think they call it leaf meal, but it's like the leaf grinds up into like this thing, and then the microbes feed on the leaf meal, and then it creates this amazing soil, and then the rain will aerate it, and it becomes like you're walking on a pillow basically when the soil is. But I've worked with a company since I had a hiatus, but we started our work in I think 2011. It's an incredible company that's been around for like 40 years. They do they prepare these microbe blends and different microbes for the soil. So along the way, I met an amazing man named Doug Beitler. He again is no longer, or he is no longer with us as well. So, but he was a microbiologist with ORMUS background, and he was a speaker at some of the events. And so, I basically learned a lot from him and his take on the microbes, and that is just such a crucial part because there's microbes that remediate salt. He had microbes that remediate the oil. He was working with people with the BP oil spill way back in the day about using microbes to eat the hydrocarbons of the oil and then convert them into lipids, which the fish would eat, and then it would become like this whole part of the ecosystem as opposed to a toxic waste deposit. But there was some politics involved, so his solution ultimately didn't. I think it may have won, but not been implemented or something like that. But it was really high up there in like they took it seriously basically. And Doug was also involved in a project called Green the Desert, which is terraforming the desert. I think it was the Dubai or United Arab Emirates or one of those places where he was working. But yeah, so I got to learn from Doug about these microbes that will, if whatever the problem is. So if the soil is oversalted, because we have a salton sea, and I'm in Southern California, and towards Arizona, there's a huge ocean essentially of like farm runoff that has become salt encrusted, and that's one of the projects I would really love to work on. But there are microbes that will remediate that, and then through this natural process of this decay, will create new soil.
Now, are you using ORMUS for
Yeah,
this as well?
I do
So
use them.
well, I remember in my research with ORMUS that um, a lot of people will use it because it speeds up the microbial process, right? So
It
people
does.
will use it to speed up their fermentation process when making wine, when making beer, kombucha.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Actually, there was another Ormus speaker back in the day named Mihu, and he would make this Ormus drink that was just incredible, and he would ferment it. And yeah, I tested myself with making kombucha and jun and all these different things. And yeah, it's the gold. See, I use mainly the gold that I make. It's like a traditional series of hydrocarbons that's produced in this method called a polymeric catalytic reaction. And so I just do a couple drops of this gold liquid that I make from 24 karat, really like 4 9s, 5 9s gold. And I'll just put a couple drops in, and the ferment just goes off. So yeah, we make products that have ormus and microbes, and all of it was in the development. We had this thing going back in the day, but now we're reassembling it and getting these products back to market because I don't think they got the connection and back in the day, because it was all about educating people. And now I think it's come to a point where people are finally getting aware of this stuff. We went through the phase of educating people and going all over the place and doing that. So now people, I believe, are open to receive this new technology. But yeah, it's essentially microbes, ORMUS, and then the nutrients just get cycled through the leaf as they drop. But you can also apply nutrients as well. We made a hydroponic solution with another business partner of mine, and it was very low NPK, but it was infused with these energetic dynamics. I won't even call it ORMUS. I would call it like the way the bar magnets of the water molecule form around these molecules and then are no longer like are further processed to where the bar magnets are left without needing a lot of the substance itself. And so these bar magnets, then whatever mechanism or system is involved will think, oh, it's the thing, but it's not the thing, but it still has the effect of the thing, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Sure.
Kind of, yeah, like a homeopathy kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly like that. Because that's what is going on with homeopathy. These water molecules form like these. The way my teacher explained it, he said they're like bar magnets that form around the water molecule, and then through the succussion, then they break off into the water, and then those form bar magnets, and then those can be breaking off. And so that's pretty much exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, so my experience with growing fruit trees and ormus, it was, I think our fruit trees were only probably 2 or 3 years old at this time, but they were polluted for the first time because they were so young. They were polluted with blossoms. They were polluted with blossoms. Well, that night there's supposed to be a frost, and I knew it would kill all the blossoms, which would kill all the apples that year. I mixed up some ormus that I made in a 5-gallon bucket with some water, and I watered those trees, both of them. My dad has an orchard of probably 50 different kinds of fruit trees, which is just in the front part of our property. And that night, all of his blossoms died, and mine lived.
That's amazing.
And the only difference was that ormus water, and I know that was what helped. That's what helped them.
Oh,
Right? It
absolutely.
makes them more cold tolerant. It makes them more drought tolerant, more resistant to disease, more nutritious, healthier, bigger crops. You guys, I should have brought up some pictures, but you should see the fruit that's grown. Like a regular orange is about this big. When you grow with ormus, it's like the freaking size of a grapefruit. I mean, it's crazy. And if you save those seeds, the second generation is even stronger than that
Right.
first generation, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's you mentioned Arthur's company earlier, Sea Crop, and
Yeah.
he had pictures. Oh, I can share my screen here. Let's
Yeah,
see.
of course.
Sure.
Because it is amazing what it does to agriculture, and there's some theories around what's going on, but when you see the pictures, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. Nut trees, a little walnut this size is the size of a baseball. I mean, it's
Right.
crazy.
Let's see.
I'll bring this up till you get it on. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, Ormus has just amazed me for a long time, and something I want to delve back into. So I figured having you on would really highlight that and get me into the swing of things.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the opportunity, because I do feel like, with everybody's concern about,
Will you fix
whether.
your camera, Tom? Sorry to interrupt
Oh
you.
yeah, that's okay. I was trying to get this page
We're
open.
looking at your lap.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Charlie?
Well, while he's looking, I am interested in knowing whether anyone's done research to kind of define the chemical composition of ormus.
Yeah, it's interesting. There has been studies that show increased Brix levels in the produce themselves. So
Right? Okay.
and I'm sure there's also been analysis to show that the nutrient level has increased. But the quality is what blows my mind, because I have a lime tree in the backyard. This thing like nearly died from lack of watering, and then it came back, and then the taste of the lime itself, it's a bear's lime, or maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but a bear's lime or whatever. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I tried one. I was like, wow, that is the most insane lime I've ever tasted.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people are saying, that usually if you grow something fast, you see a lot of people injecting things into their plants to get them to grow enormous and stuff, and they usually lack that taste, that
Yeah.
flavor, or the color or something. But these ones, when they're grown with Ormus, it's the complete opposite.
Exactly. You would think that, oh, it's this hybridized, huge GMO giant thing, but no, it's actually, and I feel like this Ormus was much stronger back in the day, like maybe when the dinosaurs were around. Like there was enough Ormus to grow gigantic organisms. Um,
Can you bring that picture back up? I
yeah,
didn't get to show
did
it.
we
Sorry
lose
about
it?
that.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. Let's see
I
here.
clicked back over to the other screen.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so can you see the Ormus oranges?
Yep.
Yeah, so the two
Let me
Ormuses. This was watered with Ormus, or fed Ormus.
Okay.
Here's
Yeah.
a supermarket orange, and here's
Yeah,
an
see
orange.
that? It looks the size of a cantaloupe. That second. Oh my goodness. The one on the left is a standard orange. The one on the right is an Ormus grown orange.
Right, and it's almost as big as this cantaloupe. I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you see it for your own eyes, and when you actually experience it, it's like, okay, there's something to here. Maybe I don't have the right technical, scientific understanding of what is exactly going on, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like just like with us breathing oxygen, it's like there's some fire to the oxygen that animates us with this vital energy that feeds the mitochondria via the ATP or the Krebs cycle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard some interesting newer researchers come online and talk about how these subatomic particles are even, they connect to like the orbital that would normally occupy an electron, but they're smaller. They're like the tau and the mu or something like that particles. This is according to a woman named Lilac Black, Double
Very
Eagle
cool.
Alchemy or something like that. She's really an amazing researcher, and she kind of made that correlation. But yeah, it's like whatever the mechanism is behind it, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak.
Yeah. So I would like to include it in my research with the pyramid energy. I have
Yeah.
2 wooden pyramids built for my garden right now to start my
Nice.
studies in the spring. And I want to implement, I was telling Tom this earlier. My problem is when I do research is I feel bad for the control group. So
You
I
do.
always want them to get benefits as well, but I need to start, I guess, turning that off, give them some later or whatever. But I have so many cool experiments that are going to go on, and implementing Ormus in them is one of my plans. So another plan is not to just grow food, but to grow the food that I'm going to be feeding my animals. So I raise rabbits as well.
Nice.
And there was a man in the 70s who actually did a study. He built Giza shaped rabbit hutches.
Oh,
And it was, I think this was in one of the popular farm books or gardening books or something, magazines is where I found this information. But the rabbits grew 40% larger in
wow.
the rabbit hutches that were the pyramid shaped ones. So could you imagine if they were fed the Ormus minerals and stuff too? And I know a lot of people are like trying to go the vegetarian route and things like that. I'm a meat eater, so
Mhm.
it doesn't hurt me. It does hurt me that my dogs are eating crappy kibble and food like that. So one of the reasons I raise these rabbits is to feed them to my dogs. So I
Mhm.
know they're getting a healthy type of nutrition, so it'll be interesting to see the longevity that it produces, not only in the rabbits, but in the dogs and the cats or the animals that eat the rabbits as well.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, it's all, again, it's like recycling that energetic component.
Yes, exactly. So recycle, and that's another part of it too, is the rabbit manure. I'll be
Mhm.
collecting the rabbit manure and making it into biochar. You can actually
Nice.
dry the rabbit manure, make it into biochar,
Okay.
and also utilizing it for redworm composting as well. So with the magnetized bins I was telling you about before.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like you got it pretty dialed.
Not really. I do in my head, but it sounds good when I say it, but to get into action and do it all, it's a lot of work,
Oh, I
you know?
know. Believe me, I do know that. And it's like you have all these things, and it's like sometimes you just get overwhelmed. Like, where do you begin in the whole
That's how I
process?
am.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like
Or
if I do that, yeah.
I start
Sorry
like
to
10 projects and then, yeah,
go.
get bored or something, go to the next one. And yeah, but Tom, why don't you tell everybody? Tom makes some awesome products. Like he was talking about the elixir of gold that he makes.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, so why don't you tell people how they can get a hold of you? I put his links in the description of all the videos, so you guys can click on those and go right to his sites as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The main site is plantastichealth.com. And that kind of is the shop. I don't put a lot of information. I know that I could probably do that, but it's like the people that know are going to know. And so I don't want to like make claims and do all this sort of thing. It's like most of the people are through like the contacts I've done over the years, and they've actually tried it and then been like, wow, I can't believe that. Like I got to I got to do the course of that or whatever. But it's not even something like, it's not like a drug or like something that you get dependent on. It's almost like a tuning fork. It's like this substance has energetic qualities that tunes specific correspondences in the body. And the Egyptians had this complete system of correspondences. According to one of my teachers, it's documented at the Temple of Karnak. This is a gentleman that actually can read hieroglyph and has written a scroll in hieroglyph. I mean, he's one of the most genius people I've come across in this lifetime. But so this stuff is documented in this ancient medicinal practice that goes back to Egypt. So all of the systems in our body have correspondences. Like for gold, for instance, gold corresponds with the eyes, and it corresponds with the heart on a physical level, and it corresponds with the solar plex. So when you take the gold, you've got willpower. It's like a cellular rejuvenation, metabolic restoration, and it's almost like it allows the body to use these. See, gold is almost like a panacea of sorts, but because everything wants to become gold, and so gold covers a lot of it. And so when you do the gold, the body will heal, and then it'll go into this rasayana, is what the Ayurvedic tradition calls it, but it's this increasing of ojas. Now the ojas are just hugely responsible for our healing, for all the superpowers we have and everything. So cultivating ojas is really important, and that's like you're doing in the produce and in the animals and different things. So that's important to cultivate this ojas and allow the body's natural innate intelligence to then do what it has to do, because it knows what needs to be done. And so yeah, this process typically is done with opening up a gold metal into a salt, extracting it, well, using a catalytic reaction, this polymeric catalytic reaction on it with this other distillate from a high temperature acetate distillation. That will empty out this oil, and then the gold will fall out into gold. The gold salt will then become gold again. And then that is aged and further refined to where it can be, and it's sweetened a lot of times, which is just through the distillation process. But yeah, then that is prepared for a proper ingestion. And so, but all these things have, like copper is in the kidneys, and it has all these other things. But yeah, I love sharing this with people, because the things that I've seen, and I definitely don't want to make any claims about curing the C word or anything like that, but I've seen that happen with these things. And that's what, for me, I was like an IT guy. I worked for banks. I had my own firm that I dealt with. And I found this technology, and I was like, I got to get it out there. It has to be, like, people have to know that this exists. And so
Well, look at the gigantic growing of the fruits when you use Ormus. You know, the rabbit hutches that where the rabbits grew 40% larger in the pyramid shaped hutches and stuff. And then you see, yes, there were giants that lived in these days. It just
exactly.
kind of all is getting pulled together for me, and that it has to all coincide somehow there.
Yeah, and I think it's coming back stronger because you see kind of the next generation, they're all getting to be really big. Like you'll see like the family picture and all the kids are like over towering the parents and stuff. So I think that it is like that fluctuates that amount of Ormus in the air at any one time. Like in the dinosaur days, it was quite different. Um, Giant trees and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wouldn't
Um,
that be fun if that's what they were spraying in the air instead of
right.
chemtrails?
Well, I
Ormus.
think that they are blocking.
Yeah.
You see, the dynamic is this. So from the center of all of this that is unknown, like the center of the galaxy, the universe, emanates something that then it goes into the sun and then it radiates off. It goes into the earth and then radiates off. And so that surface level radiation on the surface of the earth has specific energies that feed it, whether it be the animals, the plants, or the minerals. And obviously, all of these materials are created through transmutation in the earth, the bowels of the earth, because that's how these minerals are born. I mean, I never really bought the whole thing about, oh, it's gold is made in a star and it exploded and it concentrated on earth. Gold grows like anything else. It's got a generative principle, just like plants do, just like animals do. Every kingdom has a generative principle. It's a little different according to what the traditional alchemists said about this seed of the metals. I think it was Thomas Vaughan spoke about the seed of the metals. And so it becomes whatever the electromagnetic flux or whatever the conditions are, it'll become that metal. So it'll go from silica into copper or into iron, into gold, and it'll do this whole transmutation thing and get stuck at a certain place based on a certain set of conditions. Um, so yeah, it's like everything is about scarcity in the consensus reality. And I just want to invite people to do their own work and their own research and their own experimentation and make your own assessment of it. You know, don't rely on outside authority to tell you what to believe or think. Go for it and just see what comes out of it. And you'll see some incredible things that'll just blow your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. So just like with anything, I've mentioned this numerous times on this show that any type of energy tool, you need to know who the energy worker is that's creating that tool for you. Just as you say, it's very important when you're making Ormus to be in a meditative type receptive state.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's the alchemists called it ora et labora. So it's like pray and labor. Could be more like meditate and labor. So it's like you're entering into that flow state, and that flow state is kind of the point of creation. And so I was mentioning to Lisa before that like I can't work on it, and when I'm in a certain place with things, I just can't work on it. There's like a force field almost. It's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to even put that energy into it. So it's like when I create that space to work on these things, it's pretty dialed, and my main focus is creating the most healing and the most benefit for those that receive this thing. And then I've gotten tremendous results with it.
Well, we have a couple questions here, and then if Charlie has any questions, we have Jetpack Jones says, I have that problem too, feeling bad for the control group. I'm glad somebody else does too. Kathleen Grieve is asking you, Tom, please continue to post to your YouTube channel. Such great
Oh,
info. Please share.
absolutely. Thank you.
So, and then Jetpack Jones also wants to know, do any of you have any suggestions of books to read, sites or channels to learn about alchemy and Ormus?
Yeah, one of the first books that I read, well, there's a couple, but the Alchemist's Handbook is a really great book, and it was written by Dr. Rydell, who brought alchemy to North America in the 1930s. They called him Frater Albertus, but it's called the Alchemist's Handbook, and it kind of goes into the details of this tradition that was, I believe, I was told that through one of my teachers that it was a German Rosicrucian tradition, this alchemy. So this lineage of knowledge that was passed through Dr. Rydell. Now, there's other groups of people out there that will think differently and have their own opinion on the matter. But from what my teacher told me, which is what I believe, Dr. Rydell brought the art here, and he started teaching it in the 1940s at AMORC in San Jose. So he's a wealth of knowledge. And then
Is Barry Carter's website still up, Subtle Energies?
yeah, the subtleenergies.com is still going. They paid for a bunch of years. I don't know how long it'll last, but you can always use the Wayback Machine, on archive.org.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
but his website is a great knowledge about ORMUS, and then David Hudson's patent will give you further insight into ORMUS. What I like, talking about the soil, I love this book, Secrets of the Soil. It doesn't really go into ORMUS, but it'll give you a really comprehensive understanding of it. And then The Secret Life of Plants.
I love those two books as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
these are good ones. So those are books that I would read. And in terms of the ORMUS, just Barry's website, yeah.
Yeah, Barry has a lot of information on there.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of research, or he did a lot of research and a lot of work, and so yeah, I'm really super grateful to have known him over the years and to be able to, be a part of that.
Well, there's also another book. Sea Crop is the Ormus product I was telling you about for growing things, and on their website, it's SEA hyphen CROP. And they
Yeah,
have a book that they sell, I believe, as well. But that talks about the cribbing effect and the rooting of the pigs and stuff that I was talking about earlier, how that subsides when you feed them crops that are grown with Ormus.
yeah, I like Arthur. We used to distribute his product,
Yeah.
and I got to meet him. Amazing guy, actually. And so yeah, I definitely recommend that book. I think it was Seawater Energy or something like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. He's very knowledgeable on the topic and got to see his garden and stuff. So yeah, definitely he knows what he's doing.
That's cool.
Absolutely. Any last words from you, Charlie? Any questions or anything
Well,
before
I
we
have
call
a
it?
question. Yeah, I've been pondering something I believe I heard you say
Mhm.
a while back, which was that everything wants to become gold, or
Mhm.
something to that effect.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
profound to me.
yeah.
If it's kind of from a periodic table standpoint, is that, could you expand on that and give us a little more background on that concept?
Yeah. So according to the traditional alchemists, because they had a rudimentary understanding of these mechanics, whereas the Strike Foundation people have really taken it to a whole other level, and we'll have much more information about it. But essentially, and that's the whole spiritual process in alchemy, is transmuting the lead to gold.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, if so using this energy that we collect, we can then project it into these lesser metals, and then that's the whole process of the transmutation
Hmm.
aspects of these metals. But yeah, in their own natural state, they all want to become gold, and they'll get, based on the environment, I don't know how to exactly describe it, phonon resonance maybe, or some level of
Hmm.
whatever is exposed to this matrix of frequencies. It will then, and if you look at a lot of the ore, it's attached to sulfur, and you can see kind of trace metals in the metal. There's nothing ever comes pure. Like you'll never find pure gold in nature. You can find 24 karat gold, but it's always going to be some copper or something in there as well. So that shows you that it's went through these metals to become this other thing through these alchemical processes in the earth. Just like our bodies can transmute elements into other elements, well, the earth does the same thing. The earth can transmute all these elements into different metals depending on the matrix that it's sown into, these seeds that the traditional alchemists called them the seeds of the metal, according to Thomas Vaughan. And he was a traditional alchemist from England, I believe. Um,
Very cool. Very cool.
Wow, that's
so the
impressive.
alchemists are essentially just facilitating nature. Like the alchemist isn't doing anything unnatural. They're just creating the conditions in which nature then, and through that, those conditions creates perfection. And I think that's the main thing about alchemy, is we're refining our soul. We're fixing this volatile spiritual component to our soul, so that upon when this material reality ceases to exist, our soul is captured or is fused or fixed with this spiritual dynamic, which then allows us to ascend, or wherever it goes, or whatever it becomes, or however it becomes immortalized. I feel like the process, which a lot of religions, kind of tippy-toe around, is like the transmigration of the soul. I think that that's really the key in a human evolution, is to realize you are the eternal soul, come from it at that perspective, and then take ownership of what you're creating, essentially. And coming from that soul perspective, then that's immortality. Is we've developed this fixed nature of our soul to this spiritual dynamic. And I mean, that's what I've ascertained out of all the research that I've done. And I could be wrong. I mean, I'm happy to learn from other people and stuff. So I don't think I have all the answers. I try to share with people what I know. But yeah, if anybody has information that would be beneficial, I'm always happy to look into it.
Well, there was something that I saw on your Facebook page that I did share with Charlie before, and you had brought up earlier. I don't think you shared it on the show, though, but you mentioned that, pretty much our time here is short, and there's so much that we have to accomplish
Oops.
still, that we need to help each other. Oh, did you hear me, Tom?
I didn't. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know
No,
what
it's okay.
happened. Can you
I
hear me
think
now?
your
Yes.
connection slowed down a little bit, Lisa.
Oh, okay. Well, there was something I saw on your Facebook page that you shared recently that said something to the fact that we can't do all this by ourselves. We have to gather a team of people to help figure all this out and get this knowledge out here because our time here is short, right?
Yes. And I feel like that's our gift, is our legacy per se, is like, let's give people a different starting point. Because when we learned about all this stuff, we had to start from learning absolutely nothing. So if we can produce a body of knowledge for humanity, because it's about, like, I'm team humanity. I want everybody to succeed. I don't think in terms of scarcity or like one person deserves it versus another. It's like we all have that beauty of God in us and that divinity in us. And so when we recognize the divinity in ourselves, we start seeing it in other people. And I think that that's when change happens. But to give the future generations a body of knowledge where they can start with, I mean, we're going to have some incredible things on the horizon.
Absolutely. And now, is there a way for anybody to email you? Is there an email on your website that they can connect with you?
I'm not sure if it's on the website, but anybody can email me at tom@thesecretfire.org.
Okay. Tom at thesecretfire.org.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And my Facebook is just Waters LV, like Waters Las Vegas. And so you can hit me up on Facebook if you want. And I'm happy to meet everybody. And if you have questions or anything, let me know if I could help your research in any way.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll stay connected.
We got a couple more here, though,
Okay.
Tom. First one, increasing ORMUS, it attaches to mutant cells, and inferred light increasing the body temperature will destroy the mutant cells. I'm not sure I
Oh,
totally
wow.
understand that, but maybe you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting, because that's what this person was kind of saying, is that it almost it will occupy that. See, we get a fermenting state with cancers and different things, and then that waste is becomes stagnant in the body, which then creates all these issues. So it has this oxygenate, like the oxygen kind of thing in the ATP process.
okay.
It almost does a similar function, or they're somehow associated with the oxygen molecule. It's I don't have an exact theory to it, but I have heard this before. And yeah,
Well,
I have heard this. And also David Hudson says, though, there's a fine line between um, healing it and then causing it in some cases too. So that's why, for me, I kind of like the traditional approach of because they were all physicians that were working with this Paracelsus, Glauber. Well, not Glauber, but they were physician alchemists working with these materials throughout history. And I wasn't super sure about how the mechanism was behind that, like he's mentioning, and because of some of the stuff David Hudson was saying in his lectures.
okay. Then we got another. This is a comment. So I put this up because you probably want to read it and reflect on it before you
Mhm.
answer. ORMUS was made by the reptilians in Egypt who stepped down from fourth dimension. ORMUS was used to burn out the higher DNA connection with 4D. It burns out higher frequency DNA, thus bad. So I wanted you to be able to read that so you could.
Yeah, there was oh gosh, there was this kind of idea. I know where it comes from, and I'm not, you know, for me, I like Lawrence Gardner's work, where he talks about the Temple of Mount Horeb and kind of the Egyptian science behind some of this stuff. Now, I honestly can't really comment on that, but I do know that with the traditional alchemy, we definitely have this whole complete system of correspondences that have been used in systems of medicine, and that I've seen in my field experience work on certain things. And so I know that within that I mean, it's been used for thousands of years in that way. Now
Yeah.
with Ormus,
Well, everything, I think if they went back, if they listened to the whole show, I mean, a lot of my testimony as well is that it's beneficial. Everything that I've experienced myself has been beneficial.
yeah, I mean,
So, and that's the only research that you can really trust anymore. We don't ever ask anybody to trust what Charlie and I are saying or what any of our guests are saying. You don't believe it with a grain of, just do your own research, figure it
yeah,
out for yourself if you don't believe us,
that's
you
if
know?
anybody's dealing with these sort of issues, I don't think that Ormus is like this magical cure-all to everything. It's essentially an embodiment. Well, it's essentially, see, what David Hudson was saying was that um, this Ormus-like material um, no longer binds to anything. It has no chemical reaction. It's an inert powder, and so it's like this whole. Why does it do these sort of things when it doesn't attach to the hydrochloric acid in our stomach and then absorbable? Like, it's literally an inert powder. So there's an energetic component that hasn't been well documented, or explained, I should say. But yeah, that's the beauty about this research, is that we can create a space for the next generation to take it even further.
Sure.
But I'm happy to really pour the rest of my life into this, which I've dedicated much of my life to. But I want to see this to its fruition of where this can be applied. I think Ormus can be more of an industrial application and an agricultural application. And like you said earlier, Lisa, that you can get it through the food. Um, and then there's this whole other complete comprehensive system of medicine that's just like the Chinese traditional medicine, that is the Hermetic sciences, and that could be a whole other thing. So I think there's room for everything, and I think we do need further research. I just know in the field, looking at the plants, um, correcting these issues in the field through this
Yeah.
bioremediation work. I mean, I know it works. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree as well. Um, and I had a point I was going to make, but did you have anything else, Charlie?
No, I'm good.
I think it's
Okay.
contagious, Lisa. My brain fog was contagious, maybe.
I know, right? That happens to me all the time, so don't even worry about it. But
I was just so
thank
excited
you.
to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. And I told Charlie he'd love you, so I think
Yep.
you guys,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way about Charlie. So I look forward to connecting more in the future, and
Oh, absolutely.
where we can
Absolutely right.
see what comes
yeah,
out.
absolutely
Can't
too.
wait.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in with us today. Just remember, the path to healthier, more balanced world begins with each of us. So keep exploring, keep growing, and remember, your potential is limitless. So see you guys next time.
Thank you,
All right.
guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Absolutely.